All right, friends, let's jump in with a little bit of Torah for today. It's Parshat Shlach, and the story of the spies. If you remember, 12 spies are sent by Moses and the Israelites to the Promised Land to scout it out before they will arrive, before the whole community arrives. And it's interesting to know that it's a promised land because God already says it's going to be beautiful, and yet we still need to know for ourselves. Looking ahead is a really important thing. And the question is, how do you trust what you see? 10 of the spies came back with a report that, yes, it's beautiful, but no, it's impenetrable. We can't. There are giants there. We can't do it. Their pessimism is an interpretive step. First, they reported what they saw. There's fruit, there are cities, it could be beautiful, but we can't. That we can't is an interpretive lens. So, too, do we have the two other spies, Kalev and Joshua, saying, Hakol nuchala, we can do it. And Hakol nuchala, translated, by the way, is we shall overcome. That's where the song, the anthem of the civil rights movement of the 60s, and language we must never forget to sing, let alone to remember. That's where it came from. It's a translation of the verse in this week's Parsha. But what's interesting also is that right after the episode about the spies comes a paragraph that we recite in our prayers every time we say the three paragraphs of the Shema. The three paragraphs of the Shema are biblical sections. The third one deals with the mitzvah of tzitzit. If you've ever put on a prayer shawl, a talis, or wore a small one under your shirt, as some people do, there are fringes, and those fringes are called tzitzit, in plural, tzitziot. The command about them is in this week's Torah portion. And you might wonder, what does tzitzit have to do with the report of the spies? Well, there's a command about the tzitzit in this week's Parsha, especially something that we recite if you recite traditional prayers. It says, V'lo taturu acharei levavechem acharei einechem asher atem zonim achareihem. Don't follow your eyes and become seduced by them, which means sometimes what your eyes see can lead you in the wrong direction, because after all, your eyes are informed by your experience. Yes, I can describe what I have on my desk and what's out the window, but truly what I see is influenced by who I am and where I come from. It can be disillusioning to interpret the world in dispiriting ways. And on this, thank you, Penny, on this, our 815th broadcast, let's do a little bit remembering. Because yesterday was the anniversary of 2016, June 12th, a shooting at an Orlando nightclub called Pulse. And I know I've been speaking in uplifting tones, and now I'm bringing us to a moment of grief. But it is possible, with the anniversary of the Pulse shooting, 2016 is 7 years ago. Can you believe it's so long ago? But with the mass shootings that have followed since, it is possible to look at the landscape in America and say, this is just what it's going to be. That posture, that perspective, is specifically what this parsha is telling us we must never do. Yes, you can use your eyes, and I can recite the statistics, and if you look it up, you can too. But how many shootings there have been since Pulse? And the attacks on the LGBTQ community since Pulse. You and I could look at this world that includes lots of dispiriting moments, and we can say, my eyes see it. It's what it is. But then we've forgotten the language of Kalev and Yoshua, the two spies who saw the challenges, didn't deny them, and still said, Hakol nuchala, we shall overcome. Gave us those words. And, friends, you want more hope? Realize what the Parsha is saying with tzitzit. Some of us have the practice when you say the word tzitzit, when you recite it during prayer, to kiss it. But some of us have what is a less common tradition, which is when you say the words V'lo taturu acharei levavechem, Don't follow your eyes in the wrong direction. Don't become seduced by what you think your eyes are observing. Remember, a lot of this is interpretation. What you feel about what you see is a choice. How you position yourself, how we position ourselves in our world on a landscape that includes such things, God forbid, as the shooting 7 years ago in Pulse, where 49 people were killed as they went to celebrate and dance, at a gay club, at an LGBTQ club in Florida, a state that has now made it illegal to invoke LGBTQ identity in a way that could affirm the life of a child. We have got work to do. How do we remember to do that work? With that tradition. When you say uritem oto, and you should see the tzitzit, some of us have the tradition of touching our eyes and kissing one extra time. Because tzitzit, when you use them in this way, touch our eyes and remind us that in order to see the world as it ought to be, sometimes you have to close your eyes and remember what your vision of the world is, what your hope for your neighbor should be, and who you are supposed to be in accomplishing that better world. If all I do is keep my eyes open and read headlines, I will grieve and grieve and grieve. But ultimately, close your eyes if you want to remember the world sometimes, and then open them up, and you will see something in front of you that you can do about it. And when we live in that way, hakol nuchala, then we shall overcome. We shall overcome is not a prediction. We shall overcome is a prayer. And often in moments of prayer, we close our eyes to retain our focus, not to become distracted, not to become disillusioned, not, as the verse says, not to become dispirited. Despair, my friends, is a sin. Despair is a choice. We are not permitted to choose it. The mitzvah, the command, is to look forward in the world and to see yourself as doing something good for someone else in it. Sometimes when the world can be a lot, Wordsworth said, the world is too much with us. That can happen. That's when you take your tzitzit in your hands, you wrap it tenderly around your finger, and you kiss it. And then you touch your eyes, so that when you open them up, you can see that love. You can be that love. You can bring that peace. And you can champion every other human being created in God's image. Today we remember. Today we remember all those images of God that were killed 7 years ago at Pulse nightclub in Florida. And then we close our eyes, allow those tears to flow, and then we open them up with fierce love, and hope, and determination, and commitment, because we shall overcome. That's our prayer. We shall overcome. Let's go into today, friends, with some determination, some fire in our eyes. Here we go. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow.